All right, I'm Caitlin Spencer, and this is my kindergarten virtual field trip. So, first of all, we will be visiting four main places. First, we'll visit the Grand Canyon, then we'll visit Lake Michigan, which is near Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then we'll go to Mount Everest in Asia. And then lastly, we'll visit our school, which is Bonneville Elementary in Orem, Utah. So, first, we'll go to the Grand Canyon. So, we'll come up here. And the Grand Canyon is in Arizona. And we're going to be working on describing physical features, which goes along with our Social Studies Standard 3B. And I've listed a few photos here for the students to look at, and they will just describe to me what they see. So they'll just click on those, pull them up, and just describe what they see. Like, oh, I see red rocks, and I see cliffs, and the layers in the rocks. And they'll either describe that to me or to their partner. I'll probably have them work with partners on this, or they can write about it or draw it if I feel like they're capable of that. And then up here, there is a kid-friendly video for them to go to, which I won't show at all, but it's just a kid-friendly video that describes what the Grand Canyon is, how it was formed, in ways that kids can understand. And students will answer questions like, how many feet deep do you think the Grand Canyon is? Or to put that into a visual that they can better understand, I'd say like, how many times could you stand on top of your own head from the very bottom of the canyon till you reach the very top? So they have more of a visual if we haven't covered feet and inches yet. And I'd also ask, why do you think the Grand Canyon is so deep? How did it get that way? Things like that, just to get them thinking. So they'll just look through these photos here, up to the Indian Gardens, and then next we'll go to Milwaukee. And here we will be working on weather, which goes along with our Kindergarten Science Standard 2, which is to gain an understanding of Earth and space science through the study of Earth materials, celestial movement, and weather. So during our weather unit, I'm going to call or whatever, look at WeatherBug each day and write today's temperature on the board. And students will look here. Here it shows the weather in Celsius and in Fahrenheit. So they'll look at that and they'll write those two numbers down. And then they'll go look on the board at today's weather and compare that. We'll probably just write today's weather in Fahrenheit. So they'll just compare that number to today's weather. And they'll write this number down as well as today's weather. And they'll compare Milwaukee's weather to Utah, and we will have learned that the smaller the number is, the colder it is. So they'll compare the temperature in Milwaukee and Orem and decide which place is colder or hotter and why they think that. And they can also make connections here by discussing with their partner if they've been to a lake before and what the weather was like when they came and visited that. And there are also some photos here they can look at if they want to. So next we'll go to Mount Everest. Here's one of those photos that they could look at. Anyway, they can go to Mount Everest next, which is clear over in China. And they can look at the photo here, if it shows up. I think my computer's having problems. But normally it would show a photo here, two photos of what Mount Everest looks like. And here we'll be looking at elevation. Oh, my screencast doesn't go down all the way, sorry. But down here it shows the elevation in feet. So they'll put their cursor over Mount Everest and they'll look down at the bottom down here where it lists the elevation. So right now it says the elevation is 26,284 feet, and they'll write that number down. And then we'll go over to Bonneville Elementary, which is our school. Clear across the ocean. And here we'll do the same thing with elevation. So they'll just put their cursor over Bonneville and look down here at what the elevation is. And here it says it's 4,739 feet. And kindergartners won't really understand numbers that huge, but they'll just see that there are more numbers in the 26,000. That's a lot more than 4,000, and so we'll just compare that. and talk about how Mount Everest is way up higher than Bonneville is. And next, kids can also come up here and put in their own address, their own home address, and do the same thing with the elevation, see how high their house is from sea level. And this goes along with our Social Studies Standard 2, Objective 2A, where students learn to recite their own home addresses. So this activity would give that standard some more application, so because they need to actually know their address in order to find it on Google Earth. And so they'll just write down that elevation and then compare those numbers and see what the difference is. And that is my virtual tour.